I teach at the Sofianum in the Netherlands. It's a school about 1,500 students, and it's the southern part of the Netherlands, close to the border of Germany, close to the border of Belgium, about 5 kilometers from both borders. So where we are is a very international place to be. Yeah, we've got an international skills course for about 3 years now. I had also to do with the things that we have been doing in international cooperation for a few years, and a lot of students have taken the course. It was voluntarily, so it was really great to see that a lot of students made a voluntarily choice to follow that course. We also have a lot of exchanges going on in Europe, but also in Northern America and in Asia. So that are the besides of learning a lot of languages and doing excursions and stuff, those are actually the most important things that we provide students to get international experience. I do think learning about global competencies is very important because, well, we say and we think and we say that students are at school, but there's a wide world, and we are preparing them to play a role in those in that world as a global citizen, and they need to learn about other cultures, about other languages, traditions, and all sort of things to be such a responsible citizens in our world. And we need to teach them that it's not only the courses you learn in school, but it's to interact with people from all over the world and see what the differences are. You get to know each other, you get to learn your neighbor, and that's very important if we all want to be in a safe world when everyone gets along. To teaching global competencies, we've adapted that into the international skills course, and a lot of themes that have come up and are in the materials we experienced to work with them during the course, adjusted them. A lot of students have provided materials that are now in the course books about communication and language skills, and non-verbal communication, verbal communication, interpersonal communication. Those are the domains and elements that students of us have made lots of materials, for example, book widgets, puzzles, provided videos with questions, and I think this is very important because students are going to work with that materials, and if only adults would make the materials, maybe there would be a gap between the interests of the students and actually the material. So I think it's very good that the students made it. I think the most important challenge is to show the students as the teachers that global competencies are not standing on their own. It's part, I would say, of an all-embracing environment, because it's not that course. It should be part of all the courses the students have at school. Doesn't matter if it's a language course, if it's history or geography or whatever, because all the elements are part of just being human and its function as a upcoming student at university or college or at the workplace. So I think that's the biggest challenge. How to overcome them? I do think it's very important to interact with your colleagues, to interact with students, always focusing on the why. Why are we doing this, and why should this be a benefit for you? And to get as much as colleagues involved as possible, so they see why it can be a benefit for them as well. The topic of global competencies was quite easy to introduce at our school because we, as I said, we have a lot of international things going on. So it wasn't actually new. The only thing that was new is that, well, we made it more explicit. It wasn't just doing an exchange, but getting really to the meaning and to the elements, which things, which skills do you need to have to act in a world like this, an international world like this. I think the best way of using the survey, or actually taking the survey, is to maybe to do it per domain, because it's a long survey, it's a intensive survey, and I think if you would take it per domain, it would be more effective for the students, because you always focus on the outcome. I think focusing on the outcome is very important, because they need to know, why am I doing this survey and what can I do with that. So when you divide it into the domains, you get an output per domain, then a student can really make an action plan what could benefit him or her. I think that integration of global competencies is very important, because otherwise they would just been stuck at one course at a time. And to make the skills needed in global competencies explicit, and to get to use them in all sorts of situations, doesn't matter which course you're in, or inside of school, outside of school, is the most important thing that they wouldn't have learned just taking the courses they normally are. I think they are really more thinking about what they are doing, and when they interact, for example, during exchanges with students from other countries, they ask questions in a way they wouldn't have done before. They are not just on the surface, the questions, just how are you and what's the weather kind of type, but really about getting to know the culture, focusing on things that are similar, focus on the differences, and getting to know your own world view. I think the things that schools can provide to teach global competencies is actually, it's only time they can provide, because you need people to make it work. When you have enthusiastic teachers, when you have enthusiastic students, which you always have, the only thing you need is time to prepare the course, time to give the course, and to invest in the international connections you really need to make this work, and not to be a theoretical course, but to bring it into practice as well. The advice I would give to teach global competencies is just do it. Because when you start something new, everyone is a bit anxious what it's going to be, and sometimes things could be vague. But when you get to know the materials, when you use it into practice, when students are working with it, you will see it will only benefit everyone.